Hello, this is Andrew Kelly. This is a working session in the video editing playlist in my channel on YouTube, which is called The Real Andrew Kelly. Um, this chapter is called 7B, as in boy, Yet Another Effects. And this started out being a very brief summary of what we did in Chapter 7a to prepare um, a kdenlive project which would serve as the basis for additional sessions on effects. But it had some shortcomings aside from taking an hour long, and I'm not really apologizing for making long sessions because from what I can see on the where people are spending their time on the video clips and the video editing section of the website of the channel, is there are specific points in some of these very long chapters that people go to and spend some time there, on the average minutes per view of that session, which tells me people are following it along and gaining something from it. So, as I was preparing this brief summary, I discovered there's a lot of more things that have to be said, and what I promised in the introduction to the video editing section is that I will take my time and slowly go from topic to topic, but digging uh, in a way that's more suitable to people who are beginning to work with kdenlive, maybe people who are beginning to work with video editing. And so this was an opportunity to go a little bit deeper into the effects that I used on chapter 7a, and lo and behold, no big surprise, this is a very long session. It covers the uh, transform, crop by padding, and alpha shapes mask effects, as well as a very brief example of how to work with the volume effect on audio. And one of the new things in this session is that I prepared a short clip that's a little over 2 minutes long, in which I demonstrate these effects, and the video has an accompanying audio track which makes it more complete and are able to demonstrate that part. At the very end of that whole thing, there's about 15-20 minutes worth of me going into the library the library feature in kdenlive, as well as the merits of using save a copy from the file menu, um, in order to prepare a project which will persist and can serve as a basis for additional sessions regarding video editing. So, with all that said, this is a long one. I apologize for taking so long, but to me it just seemed necessary. It's almost like, yes, it's a deeper dive, but it's also a second look at some of what I did in chapter 7a, and maybe explaining a little bit better how things got done. With that said, let's dive into the session. And oh, by the way, um, from time to time you will see this ghost of an image of my camera. In other words, the Pixel 8a phone, which is serving as my camera. I used screen recording in order to. I have a few ideas of how to use screen recording, each in a way that would make it beneficial for the sessions that I record. Uh, I think that what happened was that the Pixel 8a stopped recording after about 8 gigabytes worth of hard drive on the phone. Or I might have made a mistake. I don't know. But from time to time, you'll see this, like the ghost of Christmas or Hanukkah past showing up on the left side of the screen. And I tried to introduce it in a slightly humorous way. You feel free to ignore it. It only makes an appearance a few times during the video. And now let's dig into the session. Enjoy it. I will rejoin you in this current form at the end of the session just to say bye bye. Alrighty, here goes. I've prepared a 2 minute video clip that has audio, which the 1 hour long chapter did not have. This might make it easier to digest because really the length of the video clip doesn't matter much. It could have been just 30 seconds in order to apply the effects that we applied. So we'll get started with the file manager, and what we are going to do here is basically, let me get this out of the way so I can drop the 2 minute file in here, and I don't want to change the profile. You will notice that we are in editing mode here. Usually when you click on editing, it creates lots of space here and so on. This doesn't make much difference to me or to the project. Alright, and then the next thing I want to do is minimize this and bring in the other one, which will give us some background. Now, just be aware, the background here can be any background. It just helps see the effects a little bit better. For the clip that we're doing here, before you render the project, you can either disable or just simply remove the background. The goal of this exercise will be to provide you with a base configuration clip for a video MP4 file that has both audio and video, and to which we apply some basic effects that we covered in the hour-long version of the Chapter 7a effects session, which I call the hour-long version. And we'll have, by the end of this working session, we'll have a couple of ways of saving the work in a way which would be conducive to start from that saved work and then start applying other effects and operations that we are going to work on in later sessions that have to do with effects. So right now it's just been 1 hour long version, to which this is the abbreviated version, but we'll have Kdenlive has just a few effects that we might want to talk about in the future, most of which I'm not well versed in at all, um, which is part of the reason why I'm doing this. Um, so, with that said, let's start the work. As a, by the way, from time to time, I always have a by the way, this guy. Oh, yes, this is me talking. You will, I'll bring that image in only if I have to. Mostly you'll just hear the voice, which Kazam is recording the audio. So this might disappear into the background because it'll be Kdenlive that's viewable. Off you go to the background, Andrew. There we go. Um, we have dragged here two clips. This is the background. I play it, it's no big deal. And as I said, completely irrelevant to this project, other than for the purpose of making the viewing of the effects that we apply easier to see. It puts it in a pleasant context. That's the only purpose it has here. The actual clip is from the webcam, and this is already pre-recorded, so I've got the MP4 file, and he has something to say. I don't know if you can hear this while it's playing back, because it's playing back on the sound bar that I have up there. And the volume is real low because I don't want feedback here. What he's actually saying is not important. Well, at least not as important as this, which I'm saying right now. And off we go. So the first thing I'm going to do here is, let's bring in the background and put it under video 1, which would be the lowest video in the precedence, in the stack of tracks that we're going to have here, in the stack of video tracks that we're going to have here in the workspace. The total length of this, as you can see, I can never understand what this stands for. I just take it to the timeline and go to the end of the clip, and this is the background is 2 minutes and 31 seconds. It's a little longer than the webcam clip, and that's how I'm going to refer to them: background clip and webcam clip. I'm going to drag it to the top level, and as you can see, I'm going to push it all the way to the beginning. Give me a break, Andrew. There we go. I'm just going to push this all the way to the beginning, and let's check out the size of this. So the background clip is almost 2.5 minutes. This clip here, the webcam clip, is just about 2 minutes long, and so that's the set of clips that we're working on. The background does not have audio. The webcam clip has audio, which is one of the differences between here and what we did with the hour-long session. This is obviously a little better. And one of the effects that we used in the long session that we did not use in the long session will be the volume. I'm just going to apply it here it's real easy. It's keyframe enabled, and I love working with it because every once in a while I'll cough, and I don't care about the appearances, but I don't need to cough in people's loudspeakers or headsets. So I go to that spot and I basically reduce the volume for a second and then say sorry. Okay, back to our workspace here. Um, Two grouped clips, the audio and video from the webcam, um, are grouped. So I want to bring this audio clip up one level, and in order for me to do that, I have to ungroup them. So on one of them, either here on the webcam clip, video clip, or on the webcam audio clip, I right click, I say ungroup clips, and then since all of these are now independent, it doesn't really matter because we're pressed to the left. So at time 0, so I don't have to worry about whether I'm going to bring this up and it's going to be synchronized. Just bring it all the way to the left, make sure this is all the way to the left, make sure this is all the way to the left. And now I'm going to, so right now I've got this highlighted, this being the webcam video. I'm going to shift click on these other two clips here in the workspace. So shift click, left click, and then with the shift key still pressed down, or even if you let go of it, shift click, and now all three are selected and they're already behaving like they're grouped. And true confessions here, I don't know the difference in kdenlive between when all the clips or some set of clips are selected and you can move them around like this, and still there is a group clips option. So for now I'm going to follow my paranoid superstition and simply I select them, I group them explicitly from the menu, and remain ignorant, which if anybody wants to educate me and leave me a comment, that would be awesome. Alright, so we're getting to ready, we are just about ready to start applying effects here. And we start with the mode of operation here. Right now we're in editing mode, which means that the panel here shows either when it's paused or when it's running. I'm just going to run it quickly. There we go. That's the clip with the background, no effects whatsoever. So in this editing mode, the viewing, I guess the project monitor window is what they call this. The clip monitor for these clips, one here, is here, and I can play that also, and it plays straight out of the file. Sorry, there might be a chance for you to listen to that video and it's completely irrelevant to anything. Okay, pause. Then the project bin is here. That's the list of clips, title clips, audio clips, whatever, spaghetti clips. They're all in here explicitly. The timeline for the project workspace is down here. And when you have an effect, and let's go quickly to the effect panel here, you will see, so you pick it from here and you drag it down here, which we'll do in a minute, and then when the clip to which you applied the effect is clicked on, what you'll see here is the actual effect with the keyframes and the all the options and so on. And some very wise people at kdenlive decided, and I say they're wise because I wouldn't have thought of it until 5 years later. Um, well, why don't we have the effects mode of operation? I don't know what they call these modes. And here I clicked on effects, and the panels are rearranged. Uh, the project monitor is still here, still shows either a snapshot of somewhere inside the video. Um, but over here, so the effects that used to be down here are now over here, and the name of the effect is here. It's very easy to work with, particularly if you tell it to not take that much space. And you can even cheat a little and make this a little bigger, or whatever. So in this mode of operation, all it is simply rearranged viewing panels. Functionally, in terms of what it does with the clips, makes no difference if you're in editing mode or if you are in the effects mode. Down here, the project bin is here, mostly because honestly at the point in time when you're applying effects, these clips are irrelevant. We're working on effects, so that's what we're doing. And basically we're going to start now and drag down the first effect that we're going to use, which would be the top level effect in this window here, and there will be a stack of 3 of them in order of precedence. The top effect in here is the first one that gets applied to every specific frame within the MP4 file, within the rendered image in the project monitor. Transform is the transform. There we go. We're going to drag it to the webcam video clip down here. I hope you're seeing it. I'm going to drop it in there. And here we are. We've got the top level of the stack of effects in here. Very easy to look at, and focuses us on effects. We're going to do one thing with the transform effect is, first of all, let's select the first time frame, which typically gets created automatically to a keyframe enabled effect, of which transform is one. And this webcam image here, I'm going to make it a little smaller and move it to here. And I made this mention on the longer video also. For the most part, if you're not going to change the effect in the duration of its lifetime, which is either a section of the clip or one single clip, which is not necessarily occupy the full length of the video, you can just leave the effect. You set it at the starting time keyframe, and you leave it alone, and it'll just stay like that. The volume effect, for one, is one that I use a lot like that. If my speech in a clip is too faint, and sometimes I do start mumbling a little bit, as I've noticed, I simply raise the volume by a few decibels, and it's great. In this case, what I'd prefer to do is explicitly put in an ending frame, and that's because it's a preference. I think if I were 40 years younger, I'd probably go the other way. And if I did that, I could promise you my life would have been way easier. But we'll talk about my control issues some other time, um, because I say so. I'm sorry. I have so much editing to do before this goes out. Um, Control click over here gets us to the end of the background clip, which is not very helpful. So I need to find the last frame that has my image down here. So I bring the pointer in the workspace down here, and I start pressing the left arrow key on the keyboard. And I don't know if you can see it flickering, but it's moving up. There we go. So right click, no webcam frame. Left click, this is the very last frame. So right here, as you can see, the pointer, which is synchronized with this pointer in the workspace, is where I want the ending keyframe. Sorry, I make this mistake all the time. The ending keyframe, I want it to be established. So this is the add keyframe icon control. It's huge, it's so big you could click it anywhere in the 2.5 pixels that they allocated for it. I'm joking, but I don't see that they have much choice. I mean, this thing does a lot. So if it has to be small, so be it. Add keyframe. And now both the beginning keyframe and the ending keyframe have the same values. However, I'd like this to actually start over here on the right and be a little smaller, and then the additional effects will be to crop and make it pretty, as though you could make this pretty. And let's do that. So I'm going to go to the beginning keyframe, and we're going to focus. You notice the focus here is still on the ending keyframe. Just click on here, and keyframe is now selected, and it's got configuration values here that tells you the size, the opacity, the X, the Y, the width, the height. That's great. We're going to work with the red frame that shows up here when you click on, no, not that one, this one, show or hide edit mode. So right now it's hidden. So regardless of which mode of operation we're running, you can always click on, I lost it again. Is it this one? Yes. Click it, and we got this attractive red frame here, which basically visually you can do the same thing by changing the numbers. So forget these numbers, and we're going to make, first of all, this frame a little bit smaller. And this little dot, there's an X here, and there's another X here. The X here is a tool with which you can move this whole thing around. The X here is the actual, let me obscure Andrew's face just for a moment by disabling the video. This is the middle of my face, the middle of the image that we just had here, and there is an X over here, which is, I think, the center of the whole frame. I could be wrong. If I am, please correct me. Let's bring the face back. There we go. So this is now a little smaller, and we can see that it's 85-86%. And I'm going to move this to the right. and situate him over here. There's a reason why I'm putting him a bit towards the top. It's because when we crop, I want to crop more from here than from down here, which will place him basically in the middle. And this is really almost all that I wanted to do. Over here, I'm going to copy the keyframe. We're in the first keyframe over here. That's what's selected here. We're going to copy it, which is one of these huge controls, copy keyframes. Then I'm going to click on the ending keyframe. I'm going to paste it there, which I believe is this one, yes. Pasted, and now you see the ending keyframe at the very end of this clip has this. And another thing that I did in the long video is I did a demonstration of what it's like to actually transform more than just the scale and the look and the position in the window. Is I simply took this place here and I added a keyframe. Let's move it over here so it'll go quicker. I'm going to add a keyframe which I'll delete in a moment. I'm going to make Andrew say 50% of the size, and he's going to be at 50% of the opacity. And let's give him a higher position in life, like over here. And this is now set in this keyframe. And how keyframe works is like how keyframes work is like this. You started in motion using the play button for the project monitor, which is this, and we're going to start play. And this is what keyframes do. I fade into the clouds apparently as I get smaller. And then immediately it's not stopping, it's going towards the next keyframe, which is the very last keyframe, and it's going very slowly. And as you take each step of this, let's move the pointer a little. I'll move it, I'll use the workspace pointer here. See, he's already gotten this far. Continue playing, and he's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and there's a dot with a little red line here, which kind of is visual representation of how far it has to go. Pause here. Oh, sure, I can bring it down here, and he's got very little left to go. I guess that's where the end is. And he's continuing, kdenlive is continuing because this silly background clip has a ways to go. Now, the only thing we have to do in order to put this the way we wanted it is this tiny little thing is go to previous keyframe, and the reason why it went all the way to the end, to the beginning, is because it was playing the video, the background video. This is what I believe based on what I've seen. The logic behind how the pointer moves around is slightly beyond me. I don't have a good way to articulate what it does and how it does it. However, I'm going to go back here. Okay. Now let's go to the next effect. That's this button. The next keyframe, Andrew. Yes, next keyframe. And I'm going to focus on it. Select it. And this is a keyframe we want to remove. And before we delete this, one more comment. On the way from this keyframe to this keyframe, it moved relatively quickly across the screen from here to here. On the way back, since he's got all this distance to cover in the video clip, it actually moves pretty slowly. And that's the things I wanted to show you here. So we are focused on this keyframe, which shall be deleted. It's the very same control or button that we used to add a keyframe at that point. Now, same control, when you're focused on it, says delete it. So I'm going to click, and it's gone. And the whole operation that we had for demonstrating it is now deleted, and so it starts from here and it ends here, and you see there's no movement of the frame or the face or anything. Well, the face does anyways. So that's the transform effect, and now we're going to go to the next effect, which we're going to apply. Now what you'll see here is a layer, an effect, which is the next layer in the stack, and we'll discuss that in a moment when we get there. Over here, remove the filter text, and we are going to go to crop by padding. Crop by padding, the way to actually make it part of the video clip, same as the transform. Just drag it to the video clip down here. And so let me minimize both of them here. You will see that we have two effects. The top effect, transform, is the one that takes precedence and the one that is implemented by kdenlive as it goes through the workspace, through the video tracks, audio tracks, whatever. And then for each frame, it first does transform, then crop by padding, and by the way, you can move them up and down the precedence like that, but this kind of structure would be slightly disastrous because of how difficult it would be to set up. What happens when you apply the transform after you've done crop by padding? If the image is moved, it'll try and crop somewhere else on the screen. Be that as it may, we just bring transform up like so, and we don't need to look at this now, with one exception, which I'll get into right now. The crop by padding, as you can see here, there are two timelines. Each effect has its own keyframes. So we've got a starting point in the transform here. We've got an ending point in the ending keyframe in the transform here. And what I want to do is simply establish keyframes at the very same time and place where the transform keyframes are established. So at the beginning of the transform, you notice as we move through the timeline, all of the pointers are synchronized. And if you look at this one also, it moves just as these move. So we go to the first keyframe and transform, go to the crop by padding effect, make sure there is a keyframe here, And if we had to make some updates to the values, we would either now or a bit later. But the point here I'm making is if you have, for every, the transform effect and the crop by padding effect are really connected and have to be synchronized, because transform works with certain aspects of the image on the screen, and so does crop by padding, and transform has precedence. So you follow in crop by padding what you have in transform, go to the end effect, we establish a keyframe right here at the end because it's the same clip. Over here, I don't know if you can see where I'm focused down here, there's the add keyframe for the crop by padding effect. And here we have a beginning and ending keyframe, and all I'm going to do here is, first of all, minimize the transform because it's taking up valuable real estate in the pane here, and this doesn't disable it or anything. It's still there, it's just not taking a lot of space here. Whereas transform, this red frame that you see here, when I made it smaller in transform, it basically scaled down the whole window for as far as I went. And what crop by does, what crop by padding does is completely different, of course, because it does something else. Let's bring it down here, and as you can see, you can crop it to your heart's content. And I'm going to be very explicit on how I crop this. I want to take just a little bit off the edge here. Alright, that's the top and the left are now cropped. Over here, the bottom also just a little bit, and from the right, I'm going to take a little bit off. And I'm going to actually make this a little bit taller because of the next effect that I'm going to apply. And here we are. Okay, so we are in crop by padding. I select the beginning. Where was I, Andrew? Okay, fine. I should have selected it at the very beginning instead of doing it in some random location in the middle. Suppose I could go looking for it frame by frame, but I will not. Instead, I'm just going to do the same thing over again. And remember for next time. And I think this is about right. Over here. Go from the bottom, and I want only a little from the bottom, and let's make it like this. And now we're actually anchored to the first time frame, which represents the first frame in the image video clip. And being as paranoid as I can be, I'm going to copy it. I don't know why I don't really need to do that, but I'm going to do it. Here's the copy control of crop by padding. I'm going to click it. I'm going to take it to the end, and I'm going to paste it. I don't think I need to. Let's go back to the first 1275 on X, and over here it's 1276. So I'm simply going to paste the whole thing, not worry about it too much. There's the paste keyframe. There we go. So now the cropped image, I'm going to start from the beginning. I'm going to play the whole thing. And as you can see, We're still smaller because transform is still obviously operational. We are also cropped here by a few pixels from every direction, and the reason, never mind the reason for that, because I wanted to crop it. And let's pause and bring in the next effect. And the next effect is, drum roll, let's go to alpha shapes, and I'm going to pick the alpha shapes mask effect, and we're going to drag it to our video clip. And drop it. And as you can see, we've got on top high precedence transform, then crop by padding, now alpha shapes mask, and I have to add the caveat here that I'm less of an expert in alpha shapes mask than I was in crop by padding or transform. Actually, I know transform pretty good. These are the controls for the alpha shapes mask. As you can see, it's got its own time frame, keyframes. And first we're going to go through the same exercise we did with crop by padding, which is select the first keyframe, go down here, select the alpha shapes keyframe here, which is the beginning keyframe, which coincides with the very beginning of both the video as well as this specific track. And then we select the ending one. You see this pointer moved here, and we're going to add the keyframe here, right there. Add keyframe, added. And now we go back to the beginning, the first one, minimize crop by padding so I don't set the wrong keyframes and the wrong effect, which I've done before. So these are the controls, and you can't see anything because the image is here. So let's find the image. The easiest way to do it is if I know where it is, I can just go there. Now, something I want you to notice. Do you notice here there is this blurry region? Let me get rid of these controls. I'm not getting rid of them. I'm moving them to here. But they keep popping up all the time and bugging me. So they're now on the left. Thank you, kdenlive. And the alpha mask, this is what it does. Can I articulate how this works or why the controls are the way they are? And probably here, transition width is probably where we can set the blurring effect that I love so much. But I'm not going to fool around with that right now. I suppose I could fool around with it. You see, I raised it by quite a bit. If I set it up for, say, 60, and it's not the same, but it was at 200, and I shall leave it there. And there it is. So what I want to do here is I want to blur out the edges of the cropped image. Not corrupt, cropped. So we start from it being very big, we move in, and since I've done this before, I know how far to go. Just a little bit inside here. Over here, we're going to okay, and this, let's double check yeah. Okay. I think, Yeah, I think that in the long session, I also rounded these corners and stuff, and there's lots to experiment with. I just don't want to waste time here. This is where I wanted it to be and how I wanted it to be, and it's already set in the first keyframe. I'm going to do the completely unnecessary copy over here. Copy. I'm going to go to the last keyframe. I'm going to paste, move, copy, paste. See this here? Paste. And now the beginning keyframe and the ending keyframe match. And the actual functional work for creating a basic video that we can use to start additional effects related sessions with is almost done. The only other thing I want to do here is add the piece about how to maintain and persist what we have here so that we can reuse it. And there are a couple of things that I'm going to demonstrate here. But before we do that, before we get to how to persist it, I want to chop off. I'm going to move the workspace to the right. Yes. And I'm going to zoom in by quite a bit, which will, I mean, this is, audio does not really look like this, but this is what I want in order to chop off the additional video that we have because of the background being longer. I'm going to hold the keyboard shift key down while I press the left arrow. I'm not sure what he's doing. Yeah. Oh, okay. Yeah. Oh, looking for my image here. So I'm just gonna. There we go. When I get to the end here, you see this is so zoomed in. Now I'm just gonna move this with the mouse wheel. I'm gonna move it forward in the time frame until this video disappears. Please be patient with me. I tend to be all thumbs. And of course I'm moving in the wrong direction. Why would I move in the right direction? I don't know. So, mouse wheel down. I'm just not clicked, but down. And here is where we get to this handy dandy little razor tool right here, which, be careful with it. It can do a lot of unintentional damage if you use it and immediately press the escape key so it goes back into the select mode. Otherwise you wind up with many cuts across the video here. I want us to be here, and I think one click on the right. There we go. Now we're at the very end of the webcam video, and all three tracks are selected, so I'm going to ungroup them. Ungroup clips. I'm going to select the background clip, and I'm going to cut it right here. and delete the remainder. So, razor tool over here, click, and notice the reason for the shaded area is because we're zoomed in so much that it gets down to, well, how do you put a pointer over a partial pixel? I don't. That's what I think this is intended for. It's so you don't. So we are down here, and we go to the selected track and click, and this is now cut, and I'm going to hit escape key, because if I kept on clicking here, there'd be it's like many cuts made over here, which is you have to undo them, and it's a hassle. So escape. We're now back in the selection tool, sorry. We come back here, push it a bit to the right. Now I'm going to select everything. And let's move group them by all means. Group clips, they're all selected. I'm going to click the keyboard key left by one click, sorry. Now you'll notice we've got the background, we've got the webcam clip, and we've got the audio. We're one click to the right, and all three of them are gone, which means I clipped it just right. And now I'm going to hold the control key down in order to zoom out. Control key down and go down with the mouse wheel. Now this is the whole video, which is about 2.5 minutes, I think, is now compressed to this little thing here, which of course is not very useful. So I'm just going to go back and make it a bit longer. And now we've got 3 well-made clips all grouped together, and play a few seconds. Okay, so this goes on for a little bit, 2.5 minutes, and the object of this session is not to convey anything meaningful in this little narrative here. This was just something we used, so that's why I'm not letting it run all the way through. I need to go back to the effects here one more time, because something I forgot to do. Let's say what I was doing here, if you didn't notice, is this is my sound bar, and it was set down here like at 30%, so I don't get feedback or whatever. So I just while this guy was talking, I raised the volume. Now I'm bringing it back here, because what I want to do is I want to apply the volume effect to the audio clip down here. And you can see this is the audio clip, and without further ado, I'm just going to one of the things you can do, let's take the filter out. You can focus on audio with the actual effects that you have. You can focus on audio, which reduces the number by quite a bit. It doesn't matter when you put in a filter. You see, we pick volume keyframeable. I'm going to apply it down here in the audio track, and I'm going to put it only in one place. Um, so click, drag to the green audio, and just for comparison, I'm going to play it the way it sounds right now. It's a faint mumble, which is what it's really meant to be, because I'm not using the contents of this at all. Let's pause, and instead we are just going to now display the audio of that effect. You don't see these effects here because they're applied to the video track. The audio track has its own effects, and there's nothing in right now, and the gain is right now 0 dB, which is placed visually over here. This is a slider, and so I'm just gonna make it now. This is gonna come out pretty loud, so forgive me for assaulting your ears in this manner, but I'll make an adjustment. Let's bring this over here. Now this is applied to the whole audio track right now. If I want to have dips in the decibels at a specific point, we have to start playing with starting point, end point, add another 2-3 keyframes at that point, and I'm not going to cover that here. Let's just play it where it is right now. Editing playlist, and it's going to be used. Now I can make adjustments as it goes along. The adjustment is not relevant for specific points in the track. It's an adjustment the way it's configured right now in the whole track. So a little louder, a little softer, and which will actually it should make some background noise. Okay, so let's leave it somewhere here. This is the no change. This is the like a no up. Volume doesn't make any difference here. Make it a bit louder, just a touch for the exercise. Okay, so pause. So now we have everything we need in these three tracks to do the final section of this session, which is how do we save it so that it's reusable. There are various ways to do it. I'm going to try not to go into this whole lecture, but before we do any of that, let's save this project. Now it's got its own name, which I set up before the started recording this session, and these are the files it's using. Here's the metadata. This is the name of the abbreviated base configuration for effects, and that's where the save operated. So we are saved in one place in terms of the file system. Now, in one of the easiest ways is when you figure you're ready, let's go to the editing mode here, and just make things a little bit bigger. Okay. When you're ready to have a copy, and I'm just going to use this. If you remember, I just showed you, but I didn't make use of the information. The name of this is kdenlive effects abbreviated base config. Okay, I'm just going to copy this string, copy, cancel out of this, and I'm going to say save a copy right here, and I'm going to give it a name. I'm going to paste, and this is copy, say version 1, whatever that means. So you wind up with two kdenlive files. On your file system, one called kdenlive effects abbrev base config, and the other one's called the same thing, copy v1, which is where you can start from for the next effect session that we do. And that's probably what I'm going to do, so I'm just going to go save it. Before I do that, a save copy is not meant specifically for this purpose. A few things I want to go through. The name of this project has not changed. We're still in the main branch of versions, or however you create instances of kdenlive projects. The save a copy simply saves a copy on the side. It's like a backup. The what one has to be careful of is that the files that are used from inside the here are the very same files that are used in the original project. And this is something about how kdenlive does things. All projects share all their files if they actually included one file from one session in another session of kdenlive. They all make reference to files on disk and use those files and complain very loudly if you rename or remove them or something. Because can you imagine how big the runtime environment would be if you had to have a kdenlive session that had like a 5 gigabyte size video file? It's like the stuff of nightmares are made of. And I believe all video editing tools, if not most of them, most of them, if not all of them, actually do the same thing. You can create a copy of the file, but do it on disk. And when you're running the video editor, you operate with the belief and understanding that the file that you're referring to shall be there for the next time you invoke that tool. Otherwise, nothing makes sense. So when you save a copy, you have to be aware of the same things that you are aware of when you simply work on a new kdenlive project. With that said, let's go to the next way to save things so that you can start using those saved things next time you want to work on an editing session. And for that, let's defocus everything here. Sorry, my bad. Just wanted to bring this to the beginning of the file. Let's talk about the library. Library, if you go to the clip monitor here and click, actually this is the library, it's not the clip monitor. If you go to the same pane, sorry, P-A-N-E, the same pane that where the clip monitor is, you'll find library. And if you don't find library, that's because this item under view is not clicked. So you can unclick it. It's clicked obviously in my system. If it's not here available for you, go over here. If you come here and it's clicked and you don't find it here, the only advice that I can give you is look harder. I think people with more experience than me on Kdenlive would actually tell you something useful, but I have no idea. Um, but it works. I'm not implying it doesn't work. It does. I'm implying Kdenlive is pretty complex when it wants to be, and in this case, I've not seen any complexities. Anyways, uh, in the library, you save a clip. Now, plenty of documentation on the Kdenlive website, as well as a gazillion YouTube videos. The thing I can tell you about the library is that the version that I'm using about Kdenlive, version 22.12.3, is not the latest version. And I know for a fact, because I've researched this, that later versions of uh, Kdenlive, like, for example, um, the latest version, of which I'm not running because I don't want to waste time on building tools when I've got the apt repository on Debian 12, which is what I'm running, having uh, I don't know if it's a year or 2 years old version of Kdenlive, but it has all the capabilities that I need. And when it's come time to go to Debian 13, which is already out, I'm not I'm not upgrading to Debian 13 until I finish more videos on the video sessions. And even then, I tend to be rather conservative about it. Read lazy or efficient because I'm very focused on what I want to do. The library is under development actively. And so some things that work in later versions don't necessarily work in my version. But I have found one thing that works very well, which is saving a clip, which may be, and by a clip, I mean it's either a single video clip or a pair, video and audio clips. I know that that works very well. So what I do is, let's go here. I'm going to ungroup everything. I'm going to group the webcam video, which I just selected. Shift click on its own audio, which is now synchronized as soon as I group it. It's grouped. So over here in the library, these are existing clips. Don't worry about them, irrelevant to this session. There are three little controls down here. I don't know if you can see it. You can add a clip to the project, which would be the clip that you focus on here. You can create a library folder, and I've done that on my version. It doesn't seem to work too well. Or, which is what we're going to use now, is add timeline selection to library. So you basically, with these two being selected, you're telling it take the webcam video clip, the webcam audio clip, and stick it in the library. And what this library is it exists for all projects on the system that you're using. So you may have 33 Kdenlive projects that you're using, that you've created over a past period of time. The library is a single unique library that exists on that system. And I'm not aware of any networking capabilities. I wouldn't be surprised that Kdenlive actually might have other additional solutions, or maybe past, present, or future. No idea. All I want to do here is take the video that I'm clicking on here and the audio, which is grouped with it, over here, and I go over here, and they're both selected now. I go over to this little control, Add timeline selection to library. So give it a name. So the name is, let's call it video editing base, base config. And since things do tend to have versions like 2 hours from now, kidding, version 1, and this will be the clip which is being saved in the library. And here it is. We can see that it's in the library. I'm going to save the project, and it's saved. I'm going to exit kdenlive. Why am I? You know, this is somewhere between the Pixel 8a and the. This is so funny. If you look at other chapters of the. If you look at other chapters of, I can feel the blood going to the top of my head. Anyways, between the MPV utility and the KDE environment and the Android 16 operating system and the Pixel 8a hardware, firmware, whatever, every once in a while when I run MPV, all of a sudden it turns me upside down or sideways. So let's Control C out of this. The audio is not going away. And now I have to turn it from 90-degree rotation to 270. And in theory, I'll be right side up. Oh, look at that. And you go back in the corner and don't tell me nobody puts baby in the corner, because that's too weird. Let's minimize you. Okay. So I exit. This, I had the best intention to actually have a short video. This was going to be a short video, I swear. I'm going to restart kdenlive just so that I can demonstrate the library, restoring the library entry that we just made. So we are in a fresh instance of kdenlive. Yes, sorry. This is where we need to. I'm not setting up names or anything right now. I'm just going to the library. Now, with the library, what I've seen, there are sometimes delays that might make you think that things are not working. Give it a minute. There's processing that's done on the actual clip that is brought in from the library to the project bin that takes time, and here is what we saved, the base config entry. I just drop it in the project bin. You see this? Fortunately, this is a short video, so it doesn't take it very long to process whatever needs to be processed. But the only other thing to pay attention to here, and I'm going to put this in editing mode, make this a little bigger. There we go. So you can see this clip, if I just drag it to the workspace, it has the video clip that we recorded. It has the it doesn't have the background because I didn't add the background to the library. It has the audio, And right now I'm kind of curious to see what it has for effects. So let's go into effects mode here and make it a little bit bigger again. And let's focus on this. And I'm not seeing any effects here. Why is that? I'm not sure. But I do know that if I go to timeline and I go to current clip and I select expand clip, it has all the effects you could possibly want. So as you can see on the audio clip, it's got the 9 decibel enhancement of the audio. If we go to the video clip, you can see it has transform. It has the crop by padding. Now, when it showed us this image, this it's in the project B, never mind. When it shows up that initial image, I could see that it's moved to the right, it's scaled down, it's cropped, it's padded, so I knew this was working. It's got the crop by padding, it's got everything. So for me personal, this is just my own personal proclivities. Yes, it's a little, in my version, it's a little hinky. It's under development. Some things are working, some things are not. This particular set of capabilities is definitely working in that version you saw, 22 point something. If you are more conservative in your approach to software, just use the save copy example that I showed you just a few minutes ago. Otherwise, this is just fine. It's very convenient, very easy to work with. And do remember that after you drag the clip over here, going to timeline, current clip, you go here to expand click, which I'm not going to click here because I've done that already. That will bring in the full level of detail that you might need in order to start your next video, and then you can start adding effects. Or if there are no effects that you want to change in the library, in your version of the library clip, then just leave it unexpanded and just add tracks to it and you're good to go. Okay, this wound up being a little longer than I expected, and I somewhat apologize for that, but there are things that needed to be said, so we are at oh, let me do this the way I'm supposed to. There we go. You're all right. So the first thing I'm going to do, I'm going to exit kdenlive without saving. Do not save. And that gives me this beautiful background, which is actually a video, which I was playing. It's an MP4 file on my hard drive. And I just wanted to say goodbye. This is the end of this session. Hope you enjoyed it. And I hope I can cut out some of the unnecessary clips of me sneezing, coughing, scratching my nose, etc. You have yourself a wonderful day, and thank you for visiting. And I'll see you on the next session after I, again, shut off